Hi everyone. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that's oddly reassuring. How I, a human being proudly cruising past 70, figured out I'm not quite done yet. And it all started with a staircase. Just a regular, slightly dusty, stubbornly steep staircase in my house that I used to avoid like the DMV. You probably won't survive the next decade if a single flight of stairs makes you feel like you just boxed 3 rounds with Mike Tyson. That's the blunt truth. Doctors won't sugarcoat. If walking up 10 steps leaves you breathless, it's not just age, it's a warning sign from your lungs, heart, and legs that something's misfiring. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Go ahead, tell me in the comments what city are you in, and what time is it where you are. I'm in my pajamas in a house that creaks more than I do, and it's currently 9:32 p.m. with the fan humming like a Buddhist monk. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. So, the stairs. Let me paint the picture. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A soft breeze coming through the screen door, the smell of cinnamon tea wafting from the kitchen. My wife had left a scarf on the upstairs bed, and instead of calling out like I normally would, "Honey, your accessory is upstairs again," I decided to retrieve it myself. 1 step, 2, 3, around 5 or 6, I noticed something. I wasn't gasping. I wasn't holding on to the railing like it was the last lifeboat off the Titanic. I got to the top, stood there, and actually laughed. Not because it was easy, but because it wasn't as hard as it used to be. What changed? A couple of things. First, I stopped ignoring my legs. For years I treated my knees like they were antique furniture, fragile, squeaky, and not to be touched. Then one day, a friend said something that stuck. If you don't bend them, they'll forget how. So I started walking again. Just 20 minutes a day, nothing dramatic. I started stretching during commercial breaks and doing calf raises while brushing my teeth. Silly, yes. Effective, oh, absolutely. Second, I gave up elevators whenever I had the option. I treated them like desserts, okay, once in a while, but not a daily habit. There's a kind of quiet pride in looking at a set of stairs and thinking, I got this. My doctor didn't give me that feeling. My knees did. You see, when we're young, movement is automatic. We skip steps. We run up them. But after 70, every step is a choice. Each flight of stairs becomes a little conversation with yourself. You sure you want to do this? Yup. Let's go. That decision alone keeps something alive inside you now. Here's a quirky little fact I didn't expect to be relevant, but somehow is. In Japan, there's a tradition of morning calisthenics played over speakers in parks and schools. Elderly folks line up and stretch in sync to music that sounds like it belongs in a 1950s cartoon. And guess what? Their cardiovascular health is enviable. It's not the intensity, it's the consistency. Every day they move. Every day their bodies say, thanks for not forgetting about me. Here's the academic part. Cardiologists agree that climbing stairs is one of the best low-impact tests of VOT. Max the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use during exercise. In English, it's your fuel efficiency. If you can still scale steps, your heart's fuel pump is working better than most your age. One morning, I ran into my neighbor. Phyllis, 76, walks with a cane and has a laugh like a goose. Being tickled, he told me, I make myself climb stairs to get to the coffee shop on the 2nd floor downtown. The coffee's mediocre, but it's the stairs I'm really there for. That hit me hard. The man was paying for effort, not espresso. Now, I'm not saying you have to run marathons. I haven't jogged since Reagan was in office. But I am saying this: if you can climb 10 steps then solid, no pausing, breath in your nose, steps not fading, you're fighting, you're here. And next time you're at the mall, airport, or even just the dentist's office, take the stairs. One step at a time, one heartbeat stronger. The day I realized I could carry all the groceries from the car to the kitchen without my arms trembling like a leaf in a windstorm was the day I started to feel quietly invincible again. Now, I know that sounds dramatic, but when you're over 70, you don't get many of those little, still got it moments. So when they happen, believe me, you take a mental victory lap. We'd just come back from the store. 2 bags of groceries in each hand, nothing crazy. Just the essentials. A couple of gallons of milk, some potatoes, eggs, and a few things I can't pronounce that my daughter insists are superfoods. I stepped out of the car, stood upright, and carried everything up the front steps in one trip. No shaking arms, no shortness of breath. No stopping to rest on the porch like some overworked pack mule. That, my friends, was a better feeling than a tax refund. Most people assume strength disappears with age like socks in a dryer. But the truth is, your body doesn't stop building muscle just because you're older. It stops because you let it. Muscles are like friendships, they get weaker if you ignore them. So I stopped ignoring mine. Now, I didn't join a gym, not unless you count the living room and a couple of soup cans. I started doing push-ups against the kitchen counter, squats while holding on to the back of a chair. I even dusted off some old resistance bands my grandson had left behind, originally purchased for his summer shred, which lasted roughly 3 days. They've been much more loyal to me. The human body after 70 is like a stubborn old carrot, won't run like new, but with a little love and routine maintenance, it'll surprise you. And just like a car, if you stop using it entirely, rust creeps in faster than you think. There's this funny moment I'll never forget. My grandson was helping me unload groceries once and asked, "Pop, do you want me to carry the heavy bag?" I looked at him, smiled, and said, "Buddy, I've been lifting bags of flour since before you were a twinkle in your mom's eye." Then I hoisted that bag like it was made of marshmallows, just to prove a point. He called me beast mode. Grandpa for the rest of the week. Here's something a little off topic, but weirdly relevant. Did you know ants can carry up to 50 times their body weight? I read that one night when I couldn't sleep, and it stuck with me. Not because I think I'm an ant though. I have been accused of being stubborn, but because even tiny creatures have astonishing strength when they train for it. Nature's funny that way. Now, I know there's debate in the fitness world, particularly among physical therapists, about whether older adults should lift weights at all. Some argue it increases the risk of injury, but the counterpoint is compelling. Done correctly, with guidance and moderation, resistance training is one of the best ways to maintain independence. It keeps bones dense, metabolism humming, and yes, groceries off the floor. And here's the kicker. Strength doesn't just live in your biceps. It shows up in the grip of your hand, the stability of your knees, and your ability to open a jar without calling for backup. If I can carry groceries without shaking, it means I can still carry other things too, like myself, my dignity, my confidence. There's this old man at the market, wears a flat cap, always smells like bay rum, probably pushing 90. I once saw him lift a watermelon like it was a beach ball. I said, "Ernesto, you training for the Senior Olympics or something?" He winked and replied, "I train to not ask for help." That line, gold. Put it on a t-shirt. Heck, carve it into stone. So here's my unofficial grocery test. If you can carry 2 full bags from the car to the kitchen without trembling, you're not just aging, you're winning. No medal required. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing. The muscles still listen when you speak. And next time someone offers to carry the groceries for you, smile and say, "I've got it, but thank you." Because the day you stop lifting the bags is the day they start lifting you. It's one thing to carry groceries or climb stairs. Those feel like big, heroic acts when you're older. But let me tell you, nothing humbles a man quite like trying to stand on one leg for 30 seconds. Balance, that sneaky little thing you never think about when you're young. And then suddenly, one day, you're brushing your teeth. Lift one foot just for fun, and boom, your whole body goes into Mayday mode. That happened to me a few years back. Just a regular Tuesday. Toothpaste in my mouth, toothbrush in hand, and I thought, let's try this standing on one leg thing the internet keeps talking about. I lasted 5 seconds. It felt like my body had forgotten how to trust itself. Like all the inner mechanics, my joints, tendons, nerves, had filed for early retirement. That was my wake-up call. Because here's the truth. Balance isn't just about not falling, though that's obviously important. It's about coordination, focus, and keeping the brain engaged with the body in real time. So I made it a daily habit. Every morning while brushing my teeth, I lift one foot. First the right, then the left. I started with holding onto the wall, then the sink, and eventually I didn't need support. Now I can stand long enough to hum the entire chorus of Ain't No Mountain High Enough. And yes, sometimes I do sing it out loud, which the cat does not appreciate. But let me drop a little old age wisdom here. Your balance is a lie detector test for your nervous system. When your brain and your muscles stop communicating clearly, balance is the first thing to go. That's why doctors often check your gait, posture, and reaction time as you age. Not because they care how gracefully you walk, but because it's telling them how well your brain's wiring is holding up. Fun and slightly weird fact. Flamingos can sleep standing on one leg. Their joints lock in a way that makes it easier than standing on two. I, unfortunately, am not a flamingo, but I do admire the commitment. The academic debate around balance is interesting. Some experts argue that improving balance in older adults isn't about building strength at all. It's about retraining proprioception, the body's awareness of where it is in space. Others say it's more about ankle mobility and core strength. Personally, I think it's a bit of everything. Like making good chili, there's no single magic ingredient. But skip any one of them and the whole thing falls apart. What surprised me the most is how much balance work improved other areas of my life. Walking on uneven ground, less scary. Getting out of the bathtub, way smoother. Dancing at my niece's wedding. Let's just say I didn't embarrass myself too much. There was this one day when I was walking in the park, and I tripped on a root. My foot caught, my arms flew out like I was trying to fly, and somehow miraculously didn't fall. Stumbled, caught myself, and stood there for a second, just blinking in disbelief. A younger man jogging nearby gave me a little round of applause. I took a bow, of course. That's when I realized balance isn't just a body skill, it's an emotional one, too. Being able to catch yourself after a stumble, to stay upright in a chaotic moment. to reset without panicking. Those are life skills. Balance teaches patience. It forces focus. It reminds you that sometimes standing still is harder than moving. Every now and then, I'll watch myself in the mirror while doing my little routine. One leg up, eyes forward, arms out like a budget airplane. And I'll smile not because I look cool, I definitely don't, but because I'm still able to do it. Because for those 30 seconds, I'm not worried about aging or creaky joints, or the world spinning too fast. I'm just ... grounded. So, if you can balance on one leg, even for a few seconds, don't take it lightly. That's your body saying, hey, I'm still in this. It's the kind of quiet victory that makes the rest of the day feel a little more possible. And if you wobble, laugh, that's part of the deal. There's a unique kind of panic that sets in when you walk into a room and immediately forget why you're there. It's like your brain gets up, walks out the back door, and leaves you standing there with your mouth open, trying to retrace your mental steps like a detective in slippers. This started happening to me more often than I'd like to admit. I'd march into the kitchen with purpose, open the fridge, and stare into it like it held the answers to the universe. Was I hungry? Was I getting ice? Did I already make the coffee? The fridge didn't answer. It never does, so I started, worrying maybe I was slipping. I mean, forgetting where you left your keys once or twice is normal. But when it becomes a daily game of find the remote or why am I holding this spoon, it starts to feel like your brain's playing tricks on you. But here's the twist. I wasn't losing my memory. I was just distracted. Turns out one of the most common causes of these little lapses isn't cognitive decline. It's what scientists call attentional blink. Basically, your brain is so overloaded thinking about the next task, worrying about the previous one, that it momentarily blanks on the present. I wasn't forgetting the keys. I just never really registered where I put them in the first place, so I started doing something radical, slowing down. When I set my keys down, I say out loud, keys on the bookshelf. Yes, I talk to myself like a polite narrator. My wife thinks it's hilarious. But you know what? I haven't lost my keys in weeks. And I also began playing brain games, nothing fancy. I do crossword puzzles, memorize my grocery list instead of writing it down, and try to recall phone numbers the old-fashioned way. My daughter once asked me why I don't use Siri. I told her, because Siri won't be there when my brain is buffering at 3 a.m. One time I shocked myself, remembered a 10-digit number from a bill I paid 3 weeks prior. I stood there like I'd just won Jeopardy. It was oddly exhilarating. Let me slip in a quirky side note here. Octopuses have both short and long-term memory, and they store some of it in their arms. So technically, they can remember things even if their brain isn't involved. I don't know how that helps me find my car keys, but it's weirdly comforting to know someone out there has it worse. Now, there's a spirited debate in neuroscience. Circles about whether use it or lose it is oversimplified when it comes to memory. Some researchers argue that while mental stimulation helps, it's not just about games and puzzles. It's about emotional engagement. That's why remembering a funny story sticks longer than remembering a password. Emotions cement memory. That explains why I can still recite every word to a Beatles song from 1968, but can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. So now I try to associate everything I want to remember with a story. If I park in section B6, I imagine B as banana and 6 as 6 monkeys. That ridiculous little image stays with me all day, and I make mental checklists. phone, wallet, glasses, dignity. One time, I walked into my neighbor's garage. Without knocking, I thought it was my garage. In my defense, both our houses are painted the same shade of regretful beige. He looked at me, I looked at him, and we just burst out laughing. From then on, he called me the friendly burglar. So yeah, the mind plays tricks, but it also learns tricks. You just have to train it. Not with stress or pressure, but with curiosity, with stories, with a bit of humor. These days, I'm proud to say I remember why I walked into a room about 80% of the time. The other 20%, I just pretend I came in to admire the wallpaper. Works every time. And if you're still finding your keys without a scavenger hunt, or remembering faces after one meeting, you're not just mentally sharp, you're a unicorn in a world full of mental post-it notes. So here's to memory fickle, frustrating, and fantastic. When it works, it's magic. When it doesn't, well, at least now I have a system. If you really want to know where you stand in life, after 70, literally try getting down onto the floor and then standing back up without using your hands, your knees, or the furniture. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, but it's one of the most revealing tests of aging I've ever stumbled into. Emphasis on stumbled. It happened accidentally, like most of my life's lessons. I dropped my reading glasses under the couch. Naturally, I did what any reasonable person would do. I knelt down, reached under, grabbed them, and then suddenly realized I was stuck. I was on all fours like a confused Labrador, staring at the rug and thinking, okay, what now? It took me a full minute to maneuver myself upright. No pain, just effort, and not the good kind. The maybe I'm not as limber as I thought I was kind. That moment stuck with me, not just because it was humbling, but because it made me wonder how many of us lose this basic ability without realizing it. We stop getting on the ground because it's inconvenient. We stop stretching because it's uncomfortable. And then one day, we can't do either. But I didn't want that to be me. So I started practicing. Every morning. Before breakfast, I get down on the floor slowly. Mind, you, and sit cross-legged. I'll stretch, maybe lie flat on my back, and then ... I get up. No grabbing the table, no groaning like I've been shot. Just using my legs and balance, like I did when I was 5. At first, it wasn't pretty. I looked like a turtle trying to flip itself over, but every day it got a little easier. I focused on hip mobility and leg strength. Some days I used yoga mats. Other days I cursed the hardwood, but I kept doing it. And now I can drop to the ground and spring back up, like a man at least. 5 years younger. Here's a fun fact you didn't ask for. In Brazil, doctors use something called the sitting-rising test to predict mortality risk. You sit on the floor and rise without using hands or knees. The higher your score, the lower your risk of death. Grim, maybe. Motivating, you bet. There's a healthy academic debate about whether these mobility tests are overly simplistic. Some experts argue they don't account for joint damage or arthritis, which is fair. But even so, the ability to get up from the ground remains a solid indicator of functional fitness. And function, not form, is what matters most after 70. Now, I'm not training for American Ninja Warrior. I'm training for moments no one else sees, like when I drop a sock behind the dryer, or want to sit on the grass with my grandkids, or need to kneel in church without sounding like I'm a camping chair. Speaking of church, One Sunday I got down to tie my grandson's shoelace, and this little old lady gasped. "How did you do that?" She whispered, like I'd performed a miracle. "I just bend," I said, "and then unbend." She looked at me like I was David Blaine. I wanted to tell her the truth, that I work at it, that getting down and up is now part of my daily checklist, right after brushing my teeth and before forgetting where I left my phone. You see, mobility is dignity. It's not about impressing people. It's not about impressing people. There's a quiet pride in knowing you can still reach the bottom shelf, sit cross-legged at a picnic, or pick something up without calling for reinforcements. Sometimes I joke with my doctor, if I can still tie my shoes without sitting down, I get a sticker, right? He laughs, but I can tell he's impressed. Most people my age avoid the floor entirely, like it's lava, but the floor isn't the enemy. Inactivity is dot. So if you haven't tested this lately, do me a favor, find a carpeted spot, sit, pause, then stand. No grabbing, no cheating. And if you struggle, don't be embarrassed. Just let it be your starting point. Because being able to rise from the ground isn't about youth, it's about control. And at this age, control is everything. Sleep used to be a casual luxury, something I didn't think much about. When I was younger, I could fall asleep on a hardwood floor during a thunderstorm. I could nap in cars, in lecture halls, during in-law stories, wherever and whenever I wanted. But somewhere past the age of 65, sleep became more like a negotiation with a suspicious landlord. If I close my eyes at 10 p.m. and promise not to have caffeine after 3, can I please get 6 uninterrupted hours? That's the kind of bargain I used to make. I'd wake up at 2:47 a.m., not tired enough to sleep, not awake enough to do anything useful, just ... floating there in the dark like a confused ghost. It was maddening. But then, about 2 years ago, something changed. One night, I slept straight, through until morning. No 3 a.m. bathroom run. No waking up from dreams about forgetting my high school locker combination. Just deep, peaceful, pillow-hugging, dead to the world sleep. And let me tell you, that morning, I felt like I'd just rolled out of a time machine. My body didn't ache, my thoughts were sharp, and I didn't need 3 cups of coffee to feel human. That was the day I realized sleep after 70 isn't just a treat, it's medicine now. I know plenty of folks my age who struggle with sleep. Some blame the aches and pains. Others blame late-night news. But in my case, the real culprit was routine, or the lack of it. I used to treat bedtime like an optional suggestion. I'd stay up watching reruns or scrolling on my phone, like a teenager who doesn't believe in consequences. Eventually, I decided to act my age, but in a good way. I built myself a sleep schedule. Lights out at 10:30, no screens after 9, chamomile tea like I'm auditioning for a Sleepy Time commercial. And get this, I even started doing breathing exercises. Yeah, me. Breathing on purpose. Here's a surprisingly quirky fact. Sea otters sleep floating on their backs, holding hands so they don't drift apart. They literally stay anchored to someone just to rest peacefully. Now, that's adorable. But it made me think maybe we all need some kind of anchor. For me, it's a bedtime routine. For you, maybe it's classical music, or an audiobook, or a fan humming in the background like a soft, mechanical lullaby. Sleep science is full of contradictions. Some researchers insist older adults need less sleep, while others argue we need the same amount, we're just worse at getting it. Personally, I side with team, we still need it. If I sleep fewer than 6 hours, I feel like I've aged 10 years by breakfast. But when I get a solid 7 or 8, I'm back to telling dad jokes and walking laps around the neighborhood like I own the place. One night, during my sleepless phase, I tried counting sheep, but the sheep kept turning into old tax documents. And then I was wide awake worrying about 2014. These days, I count breaths. 10 slow inhales, 10 even slower exhales. It's like tricking your body into submission. By breath number 6, my brain is already slipping into that fuzzy, dreamlike state where logic shuts off and anything can happen. Like getting accepted into wizard school, or riding a shopping cart through space. No classic sleep nonsense. Here's another nugget of old age wisdom. If you can still sleep deeply, your body is telling you something important. It's saying, I'm not in panic mode. Deep sleep only happens when the nervous system feels safe. When the body doesn't think, it's under attack. If you're still dreaming, still snoring quietly, I hope, and still waking up rested, that's not just luck, it's health. I've come to think of sleep as the body's nighttime janitor crew. They come in, clean up the mental mess, take out the inflammation trash, and mop the memory floors so you're ready for a new day. But only if you let them. So if you're over 70 and still getting real, quality rest, you're doing better than most. Way better. Doctors will tell you sleep affects everything. Heart, metabolism, memory, even your risk of falling, and they're right. But I'll add one more thing. Sleep affects joy. A well-rested soul laughs easier, forgives faster, and finds the energy to still give a damn. So tonight, make it sacred. Lower the lights, sip something warm, stretch a little, and when your head hits the pillow, let go of everything. You've earned the peace. You want to know the best test for whether your spirit is still alive and kicking at 70-something. It's not your blood pressure or cholesterol, or even how fast you can walk across the room, though those help, sure. No, for me, the ultimate litmus test is this. Can you still laugh with people half your age? And not the polite, oh, that's cute kind of laugh. I mean the real stuff, the kind that surprises you, sneaks up on you, makes you snort in public and forget what decade you were born in. That kind of laugh. If you still have that in you, my friend, your soul hasn't aged a day. I realized this while sitting at the kitchen table with my 23-year-old niece and her boyfriend. They were telling some ridiculous story about trying to cook a romantic dinner and accidentally setting off the smoke alarm with sizzling tofu. I didn't even know tofu could sizzle. But the way they told it, animated hands, sound effects, the kind of chemistry you can't fake. I laughed so hard I dropped a spoon into my tea. And the thing is, I wasn't just laughing at them, I was laughing with them. I understood the humor, I joined the rhythm. My brain didn't lag behind the punchline. That moment, that was gold. That was proof. Staying connected to younger people has done more for my vitality than any supplement ever has. They remind me that time is only rigid if I let it be. That a 74-year-old man can still send a meme, still learn a TikTok dance badly, I admit. Still offer advice that lands somewhere between hilarious and oddly profound. I started hanging out with my grandkids more. Not in a let's go feed the ducks kind of way, but in a teach me how this dang phone works kind of way. They taught me slang. I taught them the magic of using a len. We met in the middle over a bad takeout. And Mario, Kart, and somewhere in that generational collision, I felt current. Not trendy, not young, just present. It turns out, people don't stop being funny as they age. They just stop getting the jokes because they stop showing up to the conversation. There's this strange belief that once you're old, you're supposed to be serious, stoic, wise. But being wise doesn't mean being boring. Some of the wisest people I know are absolutely hilarious. Like my old neighbor, Ray, he's 88, and once told a nurse, "If I make it to 90, I'm getting a tattoo that says Final Boss." I cried laughing. That's soul agility right there. Here's a quirky fact you'll appreciate. Laughter has been shown to increase blood flow, reduce stress hormones, and even boost immune cells. Basically, laughing at cat videos might actually keep you alive longer. That's not just folklore, it's biology, of course. Some researchers argue humor changes with age. What made you laugh at 25 might not hit the same at 75, but that's fine. The point isn't to laugh the same, it's to laugh at all. Humor is the last frontier of resilience. You lose your car keys, your favorite jacket, even your hearing, but if you lose your sense of humor, well, then you're just surviving, not living. One afternoon, I was having lunch with a group of 20-somethings, most of them friends of my granddaughter. They were debating the best Disney villain. It's Scar, obviously. And halfway through the conversation, one of them turned to me and said, "You're cool, you know that." I laughed and replied, "Don't let this cardigan fool you." The point is, if you can sit at the table with people 50 years younger and still hold your own, not in wisdom, but in joy, in humor, in curiosity, you've cracked something. Most people never will, because laughing keeps your mind limber, your soul young, your heart open. So if you're over 70 and you can still laugh at a silly video, at yourself, or with people who don't remember a world before Wi-Fi, congratulations. That's not luck. That's vitality. That's you choosing to stay plugged in, even when everything else is telling you to unplug. And maybe, just maybe, that's why you're still here. So here we are, at the quiet end of the night. If you're still climbing stairs, carrying your groceries, laughing with the young, and getting up from the floor without a second thought, then you're not just aging, you're mastering it. You're defying gravity in more ways than one. Aging doesn't have to mean fading. It can mean sharpening, deepening, laughing even louder than before. So wherever you are right now, curled up on the couch, lights off, fan humming, know this. If you can still do these 8 things, even your doctor might raise an eyebrow. In the best way possible. Good night.